Now, Myles, if you had told me at any point before the evening hours of Tuesday, March 16th, the Broncos would be trading for a quarterback the day before the draft, I would have placed money on the possibility that that quarterback is Deshaun Watson. Watson's name continues to hover over this draft for one very important reason. Things have gotten very quiet. In a litigation, 22 individuals all suing Deshaun Watson. It was news, public pressure, battle of the lawyers, Instagram, press conferences, press releases, back and forth. They were in court on Friday for a status conference, allegations of destruction of evidence. Something happened after they walked out of that courtroom on Friday. Can't prove it, don't know it. This is just circumstantial evidence as far as I'm concerned, based on 18 years of practicing law and understanding how leverage works. And the leverage for a maximum settlement of these cases against Deshaun Watson dictates getting it done now, getting it done before the draft, before the end of the draft, before rosters are fully baked in for the 2021 offseason program, training camp, preseason. And I think, don't know, but I think that the lawyers are trying to resolve these cases. And just be ready. Be ready for the double lightning strike. Boom, 22 cases resolved. Pow! Deshaun Watson traded somewhere between now and Sunday, Myles. You can't rule it out. And unless and until the lawyers start squabbling publicly again, which would mean it all fell apart, or they're making one last run at pressuring the other side to agree to their terms, it feels like something may happen. It's the proverbial calm before the storm, and I won't be surprised if it happens.
Well, so, Mike, I think the biggest thing there is that what you're talking about with the lawyers, right? If these guys are really saying that there's something that can be resolved here, then that's probably what's going to happen, because they're not saying anything publicly anymore. And I feel like every time you and I would be doing a show, there would be something to say about Deshaun Watson pretty much every single day. And since it's been, this whole week, it just really has not been anything that's been coming out from either camp. And from that standpoint, it just seems like you're definitely right. These things are quiet now because they're starting to resolve every single issue. So I think it certainly would be interesting if these things do get resolved, if these cases, actually really call them things, get resolved, before or during the draft, so that it allows the Texans to have some sort of time to get Deshaun Watson off of their roster, and another team to say, all right, this is what we are willing to trade for Deshaun Watson, because at that point, you still have more value than you might otherwise when it comes to Deshaun Watson. I mean, I don't know what his value is at this point now, especially because he still could be facing a suspension from the league after everything that has happened here. So I'm not sure what the value would be. I'm not sure, how teams would really gauge their interest in trading for Deshaun Watson. But yeah, if this starts to get resolved, if the cases do start to get resolved, then it would not surprise me either to then see Deshaun Watson moved, because at the end of the day, he's still the kind of quarterback that teams are going to want on their team, because he is clearly a very, very productive player, and he's played at an elite level before, and there's no reason to think that he can't get back there again.
I'll see your could be suspended and raise you a will be suspended. I can't imagine the NFL walking through this minefield without resolving the situation by an unpaid suspension of Deshaun Watson. The Ben Roethlisberger precedent from 11 years ago would apply here. And at one point, I actually found excerpts of the letter that the commissioner sent Roethlisberger, and some of the same concepts, some of the same reasoning would apply to Watson, even if there's an agreement as part of the settlement that he admits to no wrongdoing, and let's say allegations of forced activities are retracted by the handful of persons who have claimed that. Even with all that, the pattern of behavior, the NFL, I think, will say requires intervention. And if Ben Roethlisberger got suspended 6 games, reduced to 4 as a result of 2 incidents. One, a civil lawsuit. One, a potential prosecution, potential lawsuit that I think was privately and confidentially settled. If that happens for 2 for him and you have 22 for Deshaun Watson, I don't think he comes out of it unscathed. But if you trade for him, you go into it knowing, okay, we may be looking at 4 games, 6 games, 8 games maximum. We're still trading for the guy. We're still making the move because this solves our issue. And the other side of it, Myles, to the extent that there's compensation in 2022 draft picks that would be part of this, you could very easily pick, at least for one of the selections, a scale based upon what his suspension is. If he's suspended more than 6 games, it's an extra 4th-round pick. If he's suspended 4 games, it's an extra 3rd-round pick. If it's fewer than 4 games, it's an extra 2nd-round pick, something like that. You can do whatever you want to do from a creativity standpoint. And I think that he will get suspended, but that won't stop a team from making the trade. If the lawsuits are gone and the book is closed on any potential criminal investigation, I think that's going to be enough to get someone to pull the trigger on a trade.
Yeah, because when you're thinking about a quarterback, you're not just doing that for 2021 or 2022. You're doing it ostensibly to set yourself up at QB through 2030, because that is the kind of player that you think Deshaun Watson can be. And I think it's the kind of player that pretty much all of us seem to think that Deshaun Watson could be, based on the things that he's done in the league so far. So this is not just something that teams would do for now. It's for the future as well. So I think that's why it sets up for a team to say, yes, we're willing to take that hit, that whatever it might be, from in terms of PR standpoint, from a suspension standpoint in 2021, because for the rest of the decade, and maybe even into the 2030s, we are set up at quarterback and we are set up to go after winning a championship.
John McClain of the Houston Chronicle recently reported that 8 teams were interested before the legal issues arose. Dolphins, Jets, Patriots, Broncos, Washington, Chicago, Carolina, San Francisco. Now, of those, only Miami has not yet addressed its quarterback needs. Every other team has made a move. The Patriots re-signing Cam Newton. The Jets, they're going to take Zach Wilson at number 2. Broncos now have Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think that would stop them from trading for Deshaun Watson. Washington has Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know that that would stop them from trading for Deshaun Watson. Bears with Andy Dalton, same. Panthers, Sam Darnold, same. I think the only ones that fall out are the 49ers, who moved up to number 3, and the Jets, who hold the 2nd overall pick. Those are the ones who fall out. Miami is the, I think, leader. And the other team that wasn't reported by John McClain, Myles, that I think we need to keep an eye on is the Philadelphia Eagles. I've been told for weeks that if and when Watson is in play, they will be inclined to try to buy low, get a franchise quarterback, and not be troubled by how the off-field issues could impact fan reaction, whatever. Look, they're the team that brought Mike Vick back to the NFL. They're not going to hesitate to give Deshaun Watson his next chance, especially because they're just desperate to get a franchise quarterback.
For sure. Look, I think we've already seen that what they think of Jalen Hurts is, at least for now, he's got to be in competition at QB in order to maybe secure a role. And who knows if he's going to be in competition with Joe Flacco or if they're going to pick up somebody else in this upcoming draft tomorrow night or over the course of the next few days. So I think that certainly the Eagles could be in play. It seems to make sense. Look, any team that really does not have a franchise quarterback already could still be in play, right? I mean, whether we're talking about the Patriots there, whether we're talking about Miami, who ostensibly has one with Tua Tagovailoa, those quarterbacks are all probably not as good right now as Deshaun Watson is. So I think from that standpoint, it would make sense if teams are going to inquire about Deshaun Watson and you say, look, I have this price for him, and this is what I am willing to give up in order to get someone like Deshaun Watson based on everything and all of the circumstances that have gone on over the last couple of months. So there's a lot to this, but I'd certainly think that, when you're thinking about the Eagles specifically, that would be very, very interesting if you go from somebody like Carson Wentz to then Deshaun Watson as your franchise quarterback.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.